Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Every Calorie Counts podcast. Today we have a guest for you guys, Cody Nery from Team Limitless. Cody, go ahead and introduce yourself. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And thank you guys for having me on here. It means a lot. My name is Cody Nery, owner of Limitless Physiques. Been coaching for about 4 years now. Prior to coaching, I was in the military. I did 6 years. Had got out because I wanted to follow a passion. My passion was bodybuilding. After the military, went into Focus Personal Trainer Institute, which is a like highly glorified school in New York City in terms of kinesiology, human anatomy, um, nutrition, and anything that floats under the sun of being a trainer, but more so highlighted on training than anything. But when the nutrition process had come into play, I completely just fell in love with that and understanding that you can, change and manipulate a physique simply because of what you're eating rather than, everybody always thinks training, training, training. And that's kind of where I ran with starting Team Limitless. We did like a little activity in class, and it was write down, where you see yourself in 6 months from after graduating, this, that, and the other. And I literally had written, I want to own a company called Team Limitless and in the bodybuilding industry and become a head coach. And from there, it was just work my ass off and become something of myself. So that's a
Nice.
little
Yeah.
background on me.
And work your ass off. Yeah, I think that's where because we just talked about before we came on, kind of like how you and I met, which was really just one of those scenarios where I feel like, and maybe it was even before that. I don't really remember because it was a couple of years ago now that we actually met. But maybe even before that, I had seen you a couple of times at different shows, and then obviously after that, I saw you a couple more times at different shows. It was just one of those things where it's like, because we're both in the Northeast, even though you're where exactly? Are you New York or Connecticut? Where are you exactly?
I'm New York. I'm about let's say like Teaneck is
New
like
York
the
State.
spot. So I'm like about an hour and a half north of Teaneck.
Oh,
I'm up in
Okay, all right.
Falls,
Where is it?
Wappingers Falls, New York.
Wappinger Falls, New York. Never heard of it, but
never.
I know the Gold's Gym there because of you. I know there's a Gold's Gym there because of you. That's for sure. But nonetheless, the point that I was making was you definitely been working hard because you're like it's one thing to talk about working hard, but when I see you at every fucking show and then some. And then some, you know what I mean? Because I'm seeing you at all the shows that I'm at, and then I'm seeing you at all the other shows that I'm not at the same time. You're doing the goddamn thing and not just talk about doing the goddamn thing. So, that I feel like that's kind of cool to be able to have you. It usually doesn't work this way where it's like, I meet somebody in person and then I have them on. It's always like an internet connection of some sort. I have them on and then maybe I get to meet them down the road at a different show, especially when we're traveling and whatnot. In this particular case, it's different just in the sense that it was literally one of those things where we just kept running into each other. And like we would be the guy that was there all day. The two of us, I feel like, kind of stood out as being there all fucking day. And it was just like naturally kind of eventually we crossed paths. Like it was bound to happen. So again, I could see the hard work from there. So it's definitely cool to see that. But walk me back a little bit though. What year did you get out of the military?
I got out in 2019. I was in from 2013. I joined at 17 years old. And like I always tell or say, like, if I didn't join the military, I would, the average like young, just terrible, high schooler. And my
Yeah.
trajectory probably would have been, prison or whatever it may have been at that time. But
Yeah, same.
the military just
I think a
straightened
lot
me
of us
out.
have that background.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny because we can relate in that, and but the military definitely put me on a trajectory in terms of who I am now, right? A lot of my
What
core
branch?
Army infantry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That'll
A lot
do
of my
it. That'll
core
definitely do it.
What was that?
I said that'll do it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
A lot,
that'll get you rolling straight.
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of the core values within the business and myself is stemmed from the military. So yeah.
Hmm. So you got out of the military in 2019 and you went right into this personal training school that you did.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate that? Was it a year long thing? Was it a 6 month thing? What was the time frame behind the training course?
It was a vocational school, so it was a 600-hour process in person. So it basically
Mhm.
took 6 months. This was right before COVID had begun. We actually got pushed forward to graduate early, so that we could get out of the city in a sense. Um, and it kind of threw like a big, wrench in the the play because moved out of the city and went back home. And at this time, like, I lived on my own since 17 years old. I was doing my own thing. I was in Texas, Alaska, and training and whatnot. And going home, I felt like I was such a regression piece in my face. Now that I'm out of the city, I have my own place, and then going to live with my parents again at, I think it was 23 years old. And I actually was going to become a UPS driver, and it seemed secure. I had no job at the time. I wasn't getting an income because school was over. The military paid you. And I said, you know what, I got to get a job. And I went to UPS, went through the whole process. And the day before I was going to start, I'm sitting, I honestly think I was playing a video game at the time. And the screen went black and I saw myself and I just said, what the fuck are you doing, Cody? Like, you left something great. You were on such a trajectory in the military. I was once the youngest sergeant and once the youngest staff sergeant in the military. And I just said to myself, you got to outfollow your passion. So at that moment, I literally made a new Instagram account for Team Limitless and did my first post. And I think I got maybe 1 like. And I just never showed up to UPS and just committed fully into it.
So after the training school, it was basically just like, so you obviously came up like the idea of Team Limitless kind of happened in that training school. It was part of whatever the lesson or the project or whatever that you guys were doing. And then from there, it was really one of those things though, where you hadn't worked with a client yet, right? Or you had?
Yeah. No, I hadn't.
So you hadn't worked with a client. What about your own personal journey? Had you competed yet at that point?
So in Alaska, I was competing. I had a little bit more free reign.
And this is you were in Alaska for the military.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was up at Fort Wainwright for 3 years. But during that time, I would say right before Alaska, I had met an individual named, his last name was McCallop. And he was he was a fitness junkie. And he was also a leader. And in the military, especially in the infantry, if you're not in shape, you're not going to be a leader because, you're the front lines of the fight. And you're only as good as your slowest man. So as a leader, you need to be one of the best. And he kind of brought me under his wing, and we would go to the gym off post. We would go back to his house, and his family was there, and we would, have good dinners. I would learn a little bit about what to eat, simply because of the way he looked. But that's kind of like what had sparked the interest before then heading to Alaska for my next duty station, where I finally got my first coach. And he had put me on stage in Alaska twice.
Okay. And men's physique.
Men's physique. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you had already competed twice. So you knew, actually, maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth. Did you know that you were going to go specifically the competitive route? Or at that point, were you really more like, hey, whoever wants to be a client, come be a client, and I'll fucking maneuver based on where things end up?
So at that time, I wasn't taking on anybody. I didn't start my first client until about 2020, probably mid 2020. I didn't have any desire to coach at that point because I was invested in the military and invested in myself. But I definitely, always wanted to be around it, and whoever was with me, I would take under my wing and help them as much as I could. But I wasn't like being a paid coach or being called a coach at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
But then once you fast forward and you start that Instagram account, right? From there, was the thought process immediately like, hey, I love the competitiveness, or the competition aspect of it, the bodybuilding aspect of it specifically, that's the route I want to go most predominantly? Or was it more along the lines of, again, I'll open up this coaching business and whoever wants to allow me to help them, I'll gratefully take the opportunity?
So when starting Limitless, I'm a very humble individual. I like to think I am, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to just get people to compete, right? It's a game of trust in this process. And how do we gain trust nowadays? It's social media, right? So started out with just educational posts, right? Like, this is what a macronutrient is. And I'm engaging with the probably the least person that would compete. Like, I'm just trying to get people, because I knew if I could get them, I can then maybe implement the bug to say, you have potential to be a competitor down the line. So humble enough to understand I wasn't going to get just all the greats off the rip or anybody who would want to compete alone. So took the lifestyle of what I had gotten, And then I did exactly as I said. I would eventually put them on stage, and those transformations of those individuals had brought so much attention to Limitless, because we started with what I like to say, like pond water, and became, wine with these physiques.
Hmm.
People who you would never expect to be on stage are now placing in top placings against, a nice stage showing of other competitors. So that was definitely like a pivot point to, where we are now. But my dreams and aspirations, Tim, I don't want to, of course I want to be an IFBB pro, don't get me wrong. But my true passion would be to see, somebody on stage that I'm coaching in an IFBB pro stage or Olympia stage. Like that's who I am. I get gratification and joy from helping others succeed, more so than just me, being on that stage. So that's like
Yeah,
the
I'm
old,
sure that. Sorry, what you say? That's the ultimate goal is what you said.
yeah.
Sorry, I have a problem with cutting people off. I
No,
apologize. It's like a
no
natural
problem.
fucking habit of mine. But that being said, I think I bet you that has a lot to do with that military background, because I think for me there's a big component of leadership as it relates to coaching in general. You know what I mean? And there's yeah. So I'm sure a lot of that kind of works together for you in so many ways. But what was the question I had for you? Because I was going somewhere with all that. Oh, it's a big deal, I think, because there's so many people that I talk to, and we obviously live in a very populated area in Central Jersey here, which you're obviously familiar with. You're close enough. We've also had plenty of shows here, so it's a very populated area. It's very dense. As far as the fitness population is concerned, very competitive in that sense too. But again, we got a lot of coaches, a lot of young coaches, right, that might even pop off a little bit and do decent because of their social media following or their friend base or whatever it might be. But then it's like they want to niche down, and it's like,
Yeah,
I just want to be a bodybuilding coach, and it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't work like that, dude. Like, you
yeah.
got to earn
No,
your
it's
stripes. You got to put in the work. And I've even told them too, because I have two coaches, Marina and Riley, where it's like, hey, at the end of the day, we're not Cameron Cheek, we're not we just had Justin Jacoby on, or Matt Jansen, or whatever one of these more popular bodybuilding coaches are. And at the end of the day, I would usually tell them, like, why would somebody come to us and trust us over them?
yeah,
You're going to have to make that competitor. You know what I mean? That the big competitor that's got 100,000 followers, that's about to walk on stage at nationals and win the overall in Miami. They're not coming to us. They're going to go to Chris Tuttle or whoever it is, right? You're going to have to make that competitor for yourself if you want them, and mold them from square one. And to your point, you never know where that starts. Maybe it is a lifestyle client that is coming to you, and they have all the potential in the world, but didn't have the confidence yet to be able to compete. And your leadership and your coaching values, instills that confidence. And now all of a sudden, you have a guy that's about to step on stage at nationals that you kind of willed from square one. Which I think is part of the coaching. That to me is the true coaching.
absolutely. And I think obviously in time, you, Marina, and your staff, you can absolutely be at that point where eventually you do have the great coming at you, and that's the goal, right? We don't. It's like overnight sensations or overnight success for people. It's one in a million, but the people like ourselves who are behind the scenes grinding. And I mean, I was up till 2 a.m. last night with an individual who's stepping on stage tomorrow in Reno, Nevada, and I was helping him pose. So like that
Nice.
right there is going to be a foundation, of what he speaks about to others, and that is going to grow the business and who we are as coaches. And if you are fortunate enough to get that Olympia physique as your first competitor, and then everybody sees it and says, "I want to fucking be like that," kudos to you. But I would
Yeah.
much rather build my success, through hardworking individuals, and word of mouth. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. And it does happen. Not to keep throwing his name around, because I talked about him a million times already, but Cam is like, he's very open about it. Matt Jansen's the same, very open about it. And all the interviews they do, they're like, I was very lucky, and I got these
yeah,
particular competitors to start, and they were just amazing competitors. It was like second show, they won their pro card, and like, it ignited a fire under them. It doesn't mean that they were any less involved as far as their education is concerned, or the integrity of their process is concerned, or anything like that. It's just, hey, sometimes it happens that way. And sometimes you're going to have, I would say 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to grind a lot harder though, and put in a lot more work, and start to create that competitor, as opposed to accepting that competitor on as a new client. But listen, with all that being said, I'm interested to see a little bit more about, your local area. And it seems like you kind of have something there that really allowed you to flourish as a coach. And like you just said, it starts with the integrity within your process, the work ethic and what your people are seeing in you, and now you're developing this referral system, which we all know. Listen, you want to be a good coach. It's not about the stupid shit that you're posting on social media or the reel that you got that got 16,000 fucking plays or whatever it is. It's about the referrals that you're going to get from person to person. That's what builds a real coaching or training business. That's what builds any business, is going to be those one-on-one referrals. But with all that being said, again, it seems like you had that work ethic, laid the foundation for. Maybe it's that Gold's Gym, and I'm looking from afar, obviously. Maybe it's the area, because I've never heard of Whoopi Burger, New York, or wherever the hell you guys are at. So like maybe it's just the fact that you got like a dominant like hold on that area. You know what I mean? To the point where it's like, you're able to flourish in that way. But like how much is the gym and or the area been a huge support for you?
So Tim, I originally started at Powerhouse Gym with an individual named Brian Vigorita, and he's today still my best friend. And he is the one who kind of invited me to his gym to build out the first posing room for Limitless, which then created that scene at that gym. In my area, bodybuilding is and was a little to nothing, in all honesty. It wasn't like, we don't have 100,000 people to the town. It's a few small towns. It's nothing like, the city or anything close to city White Plains. It's up north. But just building that start point at Powerhouse, that was like the new thing, and people wanted to be a part of it. People saw it. People saw the changes that others were making, and it just ignited like a little fire in this area. From then, went to Gold's Gym, partnered with Gold's, and building out. Now we have 2 posing rooms in 2 different locations in their Gold's gyms. But again, the same thing. I mean, it's not like we just went to the gym and everybody's there, or, there's not a ton of bodybuilders, but we're investing, the time necessary to create that. So yeah, so I guess it's truly not like a big bodybuilding area, but we're obviously hoping that we can continue the path.
So do you feel like and I don't mean to like make you come off as arrogant when I'm asking you this question, but do you feel like you more infiltrated the gym, or and when I say that, do you feel like you're more supporting the gym, or the gym is more supporting you guys? And I know it's a collective agreement and relationship, and you guys both thrive off each other. But I guess what I'm really trying to ask here is, do you feel like the gym has supported your growth, or are you guys even in that process to where it's, the 50-50, between the two of you guys in supporting each other's growth?
I think we're very even in terms of what we get out of it, right? Because the gym does get a lot of, I guess, visitors, but also people are coming because of the posing room. There's a lot of attention to the posing room. We're probably one of 2 gyms in, an hour's distance with posing rooms. But when I first started with Golds, I had put on a presentation for Bill Austin's 2 kids who own the gym now. Bill Austin had passed, and he was like the owner. He's big in Gold's Gym, the whole 9. And I kind of, said, I will build it out. I will take care of the costs, because I knew it was an investment. So in the beginning, they were just supportive in terms of allowing it to happen, right? So I built out the first one, and then just proved my presence and trust with them, and built that friendship. And then they are now putting in the second one in the second location. But I would say that I bring a lot of value, to the gyms because of the posing room alone, right? And then of course,
dude, you paid for the posing room. I think that's kind of crazy. Again, I cut you off again. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I'm fucking awful with it. I apologize. I'm worse today than I typically am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the posing room was 11 grand, and it was I mean, it looks beautiful. We did a phenomenal job building it out, but I think even like, I don't know how to say it, but the personality that I do hold from, I think, becoming that leader in the military, and understanding that, talking to a lot of people, and lifting people up rather than always putting them down, or just being a good human being, has created also like an environment, and you attract people like that. You're not, if you're an asshole, you're going to attract assholes, and you're just going to be nobody. But just always, uplifting, and wanting to see people succeed, quite literally. Like, I'll stop in, mid-workout because somebody may have a question, and I'm wearing my Limitless coach shirt, and I'll sit there and talk for 30 minutes, to help them. Does it affect my workout? Of course, but I can understand what needs to be done, and now they can too. So yeah, I think that a big piece. I mean, of course, we've helped each other without a doubt. Nothing. The gym is a great place, and I enjoy it and
Right.
enjoy the people who run it. So we're just very happy
Well,
with that.
when you're investing money into the gym like that, it's one of those things where it's like it gives you a sense of security. As again, we're in a much more populated area, and I would imagine, again, I don't have any experience with where you're at exactly, but it's a very competitive space as far as gyms are concerned. And for me, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, it would make me feel very again insecure is probably the best way of putting it, putting so much into a gym when I feel like that gym could pivot at any given time and the next person walks in and there's a different arrangement. Did you guys have any type of like real like hard in stone arrangement when you were putting this money into the gym? No, you just went with it.
It was very much, I'm a good person, let's hope you're a good person, and just building. I mean, and honestly, I didn't have a problem with them, saying that, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna fund it, because how can they trust me? How can I just walk into a gym that's been established for 20 plus years and is very successful, and tell them, look, I want to change the ways you're doing things? Like that would be ill of me to say, like, why am I paying? Right? I got to invest, my piece. I got to give them, what they deserve in order to prove myself and build that relationship with them. And I mean, it's flourished. So it was a good move.
It's also one of those things too, where I think that's another good one though to learn from a lot of like the younger coaches, and like you were willing to invest in yourself, right? Invest in the team, right? But it also that is showing these people, right? Like it's giving them the confidence in you that you're willing to go that far. We see again a lot of people, especially in our local area, but I'm sure this is something that infiltrates, multiple different places in the country where, we have these young people that do feel so entitled and they do feel like maybe they're the next big thing because they have 60,000 followers on Instagram. But in reality, they have like 30 or 40 clients and maybe they're charging like $300 a month. So now they got, whatever, 6 figures coming in. They think they're the shit. And then they go into these businesses. They're like, I want to be an ambassador. Give me an ambassador code. Or it's, they're going into the gym and they're like, dude, I got 60,000 followers on Instagram. I can make posts on Instagram for your local gym, as if that's going to fucking do anything for their business. And we literally see it all day long. In fact, we work with a supplement company that's local here. And we literally yesterday, the owner sends out at the beginning of the month, the owner will send out, everybody's ambassador code, how much money that code did, how many sales it does. And we're lucky enough that we've been doing it. I've been working hard for a long time. We started our first LLC in 2013. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in the game for a long time. So again, I don't mean to come off arrogant or cocky or anything like that myself, but it's one of those things where, yeah, it's been a long time building to this point, but I don't think we've ever not been I think there was 1 month that we hadn't been number one. Yeah, 1 month over the course of like
I'm
the
still
last 2
salty
years.
over it.
Yeah, but it's also one of those ones where again, that my point with that whole spiel is to just say that like it took us 11 years now to be able to work to the point where we had that level of consistency. And it's not just being number one either. It's, like the last month we'd have to go in and look, but I think like our code was used whatever 40 times and the code closest to us was used like 12 times. You know what I mean? And that's a level of discrepancy there. But again, my point with that is not to sound like a douchebag, but to say it took 10 plus years to be able to work to get to that point. Being a young coach, walking into a business, thinking that you're going to be the person that allows them to level up their business, it could be very short-sighted on your side. But investing in yourself and allowing yourself to grow with this other business and showing them like, hey, I'm here for the long haul. I really want to work hard for this. I'm willing to put this up front. Why wouldn't they trust you going forward and like put a new, and it paid off because they're putting a new posing room. Clearly, whatever you did showed them that there's enough value there to where it was worth it to spend an extra 10 grand in their new gym to do the same posing room in an area where you've already said there's not a lot of bodybuilding in this area. So the only reason why they're making a posing room is because you showed them there's value in it.
Yeah. And it's nice to hear that, from an outside looking in. Definitely there's a lot of hard work, and you know that. Know that.
Yeah, so I have a question. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was just gonna, yeah.
Okay. Kind of going off of what Tim was saying, like when did you realize, or when did it kind of click for you that like you're doing really well and things are picking up and that you can expand and like live off of Team Limitless? Like when was that turning point for you that eventually also did get you to the point of, partnering with that gym?
I definitely, like, from the start, I never had a second option. I never wanted to think, oh, I can't grow the business, or I could just leave this and go be that UPS driver, make a career salary and pension, whatever it may be, and have insurance. That was never an option for me. No matter if it was a rough month, if it was a great month, I always put my all, into growing the business. And then last year, I had a baby on the way, and that's kind of like when I went from, being in an apartment, single apartment, bachelor, nice car, the whole nine, and kind of like, living off of what I'm doing, to now I own a home, the baby is safe and amazing. Obviously got a dad vehicle, but I'm just fortunate enough to be, where I am. And I look back and it's like, all the long hours and the long nights and connecting with all the clients, or I call them athletes, but connecting with all them and building what we are today is just, it's something special. And it just like, Tim, it's, and also Marina, it comes from you guys. You're clearly, if you're successful in this business, you have to be a likable person first and foremost. And you also have to be a person who cares about others. You can't be money hungry. Yes, money pays for the food and pays for the bills and supports families, but to succeed, you really need to love what you do, and passion and craft is within this so much. And I've been fortunate enough to, never give up on my passion. And, Tim, that's why you see me at every show, quite literally. This year, I think we're going to almost be at every show within the NPC Northeast, and then also the OCB local ones. But yeah, that's kind of what made me, pivot to realize that I can have, what I have. And that was with the business and the child.
That's awesome. I mean,
So
like,
was it?
hold on, Tim, let me finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes. Yes.
That's awesome because like I feel like there are two ways people usually go when it's coaching or moving to online coaching. Like it's either people have like a stable job, salaried insurance, like all that. And then they build their coaching on the side until it is like sustainable for them. And then they quit their job and, dive right in to online coaching, which I think is all fine. And like, it's respectable, it's responsible. But then on the other hand, there are people who burn the ships and don't have a backup option and just have to make it fucking work. There is no other options, which is, I mean, you don't know my background, but that's what essentially I did. I went to school for engineering. I was, working in corporate America, and then I got fed up and I was like, fuck this shit. And I dove fully into online coaching. And so like, I really respect that. And also, having, a baby on the way, all of that, like it really pushes you, it forces you to like, say like this needs to work, so you make it fucking work. There is no other option. So I mean, I respect both routes, but I hold the burning the ships route very near and dear to my heart, because that's kind of where I'm at and like how I went about it.
Well, that's awesome, and kudos to you, Karina, because it's not easy, and you left.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't.
You left something that was sustainable and was providing, but you chose, what I like to say is, you chose happiness over, stress, and hopefully today you're much happier in this position.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what's a dad vehicle to you, Cody?
I have a Jeep Gladiator, so it's kind of like the dad vehicle, but also your first home vehicle. It's got the pickup, it's rugged, it's got the nice tires on it, of course.
I don't see that as a dad vehicle at all.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I drive a Kia Telluride.
That's not a dad vehicle.
I like that.
Telluride's not a dad vehicle?
No, I'm talking about the Jeep Gladiator.
Yeah, that's so. Oh, you
the Telluride is a dad vehicle.
Yeah, I got captain chairs in my car, dude. That's what they call the back seats. Yep. There's literally a microphone in my car that goes from the front, like I could hit the button and it talks to my son that's usually sitting in the back seat. And I can be like, get your fucking seatbelt on, you little son of a bitch. But like, that's a dad vehicle. You know what I mean? Like I have a real dad vehicle. My car comes with built-in meditation noises that you can put on. You know what I mean? To keep
Is it actually?
Like, yeah, swear to God, to help the kids like nap and like chill out.
That is a dad vehicle.
Beautiful vehicle. It is. I like that one. Especially in the gunmetal gray and black wheels. That's the setup.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah. You got to once you upgrade the family and you got like, you know, 2 or 3 of them running around, then you'll have to upgrade from the Jeep Gladiator to
Yeah.
something a little bit more sustainable. You know what I
Like a
mean? You got
Tahoe.
I'm one yeah, that's what I was gonna say, like a Tahoe or something like that. I'm like one notch away from a minivan. You know what I mean? Like right there. It's like fucking Kia Telluride, Tahoe, whatever these are, and then minivan is right after that. So it'll save us a few bucks if we go minivan. But
Yeah.
yeah, so no, listen, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where you've obviously worked hard, you put in a lot of effort to be able to get to where you're at. But my thing is, so now it's, do you feel like, let's say there's a certain amount of luck involved? But again, I'm kind of back on the area and the gym. Like, do you feel like it was just kind of like the right time, the right place? And it's and with your work ethic involved in that, it's allowed you to flourish in such a short period of time. And don't get me wrong, I think now my story is a little bit different, just in the sense that I started at a time when it wasn't nearly as commonplace, right? Like we do, most of our business is not competitors. We have a small percentage. That's where our passion lies. That's where our interest lies. But I started in the commercial gym industry with training, and slowly moved into online coaching when that became a viable option. And through that, a lot of my core business was always, actually, I guess I started with competitors, and that was really where we started. But again, a lot of my core business as I've grown has been general population, and that really spreads a fire, and the referral system there is incredible. So we're lucky to have that foundation in terms of a business. But the point that I'm getting to here is, for me, it was a long process just based off the time, I think. Right. And I watched that process really explode and expand in just the last, whatever, 3, 4, 5 years. Right. And I'm wondering more so with Cody, was it just that same time that my business was expanding, your business is getting started and automatically took, from that explosion, and was able to grow. But again, I think what's really close to me is the sense that we have a very strong local following, and we're very lucky to be in the area that we're at. It has a very strong population, like we've talked about here, as far as fitness is concerned. And that's allowed us to build a very strong customer base that's very loyal, that's very consistent, right? And I'm wondering if you guys don't have that same thing there that's kind of propped you up along with this explosion of social media and all the different, coaching aspects.
So to go off that, in the beginning with Brian Vigorita, the owner of Powerhouse Gym, he was very much like, I would call him Uncle Brian, because he was, he's in his 50s, he's successful, a couple businesses, and he loved to work out. He was one of my first competitors that I trained. But he's also a very, very good graphic designer. So he was able to start my business. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. He was able to, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it
Oh, no big deal.
Okay. All right. So he was able to give me that professional look with a business. So if I needed, whether it be social media posts, or if I needed, a banner or a backdrop, he was on it. So he was very fortunate in terms of helping me in regards to building the actual business pieces. When it comes to the area, I think it was so new to this area that it caused a lot of interest. And then on top of that, the loyalty factor is so important. And I think as a coach, loyalty is probably the biggest piece of coaching, besides obviously creating that bond and being disciplined for that athlete and going out of your way for that athlete. But that also created the social media push where everybody was proud to be a part of Limitless. We see tags every day on Limitless, Team Limitless, and people are honored to be with us. And it means a lot. And I think it also goes with, who we are as coaches to them, because I have conversations with all my people, throughout the day, or I'll always reach out to them if I don't hear from them for a couple of days, and just very on top of them in terms of, wanting them to do well. Like, I sincerely want them to succeed. So I think that also was a big push, for the business, was the social media aspect, of course. Even when we didn't have much of a social media, because we didn't have many transformations yet, or we didn't have, all these competitors stepping on stage. So was I lucky? I would consider myself fortunate. It wasn't rapid. You know what I'm saying? Like, each year we have continuously grown as a business in terms of how many coaches, the total income, the amount of clients, but it wasn't like overnight sensation because I was in, the lucky place at the right time.
Mm.
And like I said, just a lot of hard work on everybody's end, and grinding and hustling and getting the name out there. And yeah, like the NPC Northeast. We were sponsors for them now for 3 years, and that's another fat paycheck that, you know, I sign and give to them every year, just for them to put a logo on the banner. And now we're fortunate enough where we get, you know, free backstage passes, free VIP tickets, and we just got granted a videographer pass. That was a really tough one to get through, but
Yeah, I bet.
yeah, it was like chain of command going up to, you know, each person, respecting them. But it's definitely returned its value in terms of being, you know, a bodybuilding team now.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, luck is one of those words. It's hard for me to put on anybody's process, to be honest with you. It's just like you said, fortunate is probably a better word that I could be using going forward. It's just one of those things where it's like, you know, I think, you know, being in the right place, the right time never takes away from somebody's hard work, and it never takes away from somebody's, you know, somebody's ability to be able to cultivate something like you have as far as the team is concerned. So you as a competitor now, how has the team's growth? When was the last time you competed?
2022.
Okay, so not that long ago. So how many times have you competed since becoming a full-time coach? Was that it, just that one season, or?
So my first, when I had met Brian, I was in a prep at that time, and so was he. That's when he said, "I'm going to come to you as a coach," because I just
Gotcha.
maybe, you know, clicked with him well, or proved to him. And that was the first time that I competed as a coach. Now, did it help the business? Of course, because everybody around us was, you know, I want to be like that. That sparks interest, and they must know what they're doing. So that was a good, like, local piece. Um, and then competed 2022, and since then I haven't. But I I truly believe in, if you're a coach, right, you obviously need to lead by example, especially like in my position, right? I'm not Hani Rambod. I'm not Cement Factory. I'm not Matt Jansen. You know, I can't, you know, maybe I can't do something different, or I can't show something that, you know, somebody might not like, because I still need to build that portfolio so that one day I can be, you know, having a porterhouse at night with my family, and you know, showcase it, because I built to that point, you know.
Mm.
Where was I going at with this? I just lost train of thought.
I think it was one of those ones where it, you know what, I don't, it's I
It was
think,
good though. You
Marina,
brought up
help us out here, because I forgot what question I asked. Actually, I was getting into the fucking into
I forget
the
too.
answer. All right, so there you go. We're all on it right now. We're all on it. We
On
are
it.
sharp today. Oh no,
We're-
your personal goals as far as you know, my
Oh
brain
yeah.
has to go a million
Oh
miles a
yeah, so
minute, guys. I'm trying to
I
run
was
the
Yeah.
going
podcast,
into
and I'm thinking about what we're going to talk about next, for crying out
I
loud.
was
But
going
yeah,
into
you're
being a coach and competing.
and
So,
competing. Yeah,
and I related to the other coaches who, you know, have built
yeah,
success, but I I cannot put so much, like, I can't put so much into myself and not everybody else. Like, in my mind, everybody else right now is more important than my own success on stage. So I'm okay with, you know, taking the back burner. I'm okay with not competing, you know, till maybe 2025, 2026, because I want to grow as a coach. I want to grow within the passion that I have. You know, and hopefully by that time, you know, I have the IFBB pros, and I have the um, you know, pro winners, whatever it may
status.
be.
Yeah,
Let's be hopeful. But yeah, I don't see myself competing, because the investment that I have to make for myself, I don't want to take away from others. I think
right.
it's a very mature piece of coaching. Building success as a coach through competing is good. It happens. But when you're really, you know, behind the scenes and taking care of a lot, and you know, you're working a lot with people who want to be pros and have the capabilities to be a pro, you know, it's about them in my mind. It's not, let
Mm.
me be a fucking pro. Like, what does that do for me? I get to
Mm.
hang a card on the wall. I'd rather have, you know, a
You
photo of me
get to
holding a
change your
card with
Instagram
somebody.
handle. You get to change your Instagram name. That's
Yeah,
a big
like
deal.
I would rather have photos on the wall of, you know, me holding IFBB Pro cards with somebody who deserved it, you know, because that's their
Yeah.
passion to be that. So yeah, that's that, right?
Yeah, no, without doubt. So now, as far as the whole family situation, how old is is it your son, your daughter?
Son, son.
How old's your son?
She turns 1 in two days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way. My daughter turns 5 in 2 days, May 5th.
Oh,
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
cute.
it's
a little Cinco de
Cinco de
Mayo.
Mayo. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So he's one. Now, do you guys, if from a family perspective, do you guys have more plans as far as growing the family? Nothing on the
Um,
table yet, or
at the moment, no. At the
no?
moment,
Yeah,
no. At the moment, no. Yeah,
good,
no.
good. I know some people will hate on that, but like, and who knows? Maybe your wife is in a different mindset, so I don't mean to say anything. That's like, but I'm
Yeah,
telling you
no,
right
of
now, as a
course.
father of three, yeah, take your time, man. I know everybody wants to have babies back to back to back. They're like, oh, it'll be nice because they can hang out together. First and foremost, it's rare to see that happening. Usually, brothers and sisters like mine hate each other, and it's like this never ending battle, lifelong battle between the two of them. But I'm telling you, take your time, man. Take your time. Take your time. It's nice having one kid. It's really nice. It's really nice.
It's
But it's also one of those things where you see your responsibilities. Like, it's one of those things where you're. I'm going to say you're a father while you're coaching, but again, you have that same level of interest in all the clients that you might have in somebody else's development. It just becomes one of those things where you're so ingrained in your kids' lives and you're so ingrained in like their developmental process and everything they have to do on a day-to-day basis that before you know it, you have fucking whatever it is, 80 clients, and you still have to make it to soccer practice and dance rehearsal and softball games and all this different shit, that it really does become one of those things where you're left looking at your process and you're like, wait a second, when did I stop becoming a bodybuilder? Because it's one of those things now where I know, like you said, you're leading by example still. So it's not like you're giving up. It's not like you're not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. It's just that competing itself isn't as important. You're still a bodybuilder, but the competitive side isn't that important. But yeah, the family thing can make it a difficult one too.
I remember when we spoke at Garden States, we had the same conversation.
Oh, did
Um,
we?
in terms of like being away in these times and
Yep.
understanding the situations. And I truly think it's as we're allowed to, change things to make things better, right? So if I know that I have to do a plan and get it done by, tomorrow night, I'm gonna front load what needs to be done tomorrow evening into tomorrow morning. So that I can have that time development for that plan. But the support is definitely there, right? Understanding the aspect of like this is what takes care of, the home, the mouths, the all the stuff, but at the same time also being a part of the family and a father aspect. Like we're fortunate enough to be able to do things with the kids, that maybe if we worked at 9 to 5 in New York City,
Yep.
I
Yep.
couldn't do. But if I'm working here at the computer and the kids might be outside and I can go right out there and spend a little time. I could take a 30-minute break and hang out with them and build little memories. And if I got to change a diaper, if I got to feed, whatever it may be, I'm there. So
Mhm.
yeah, we're lucky in that regard with our profession in terms of
100%.
creating new habits, but also adjusting to what's necessary.
Yeah, I think that it's the working remotely allows us to not miss as much. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Where it's like we might be ingrained in our work. We might be like, even on days like you said, you can take a 30-minute break. There's plenty of days, probably more days than not, where we could take a 30-minute break. And there's gonna be plenty of days where you can't because of the amount of work that you have piled up, the new plans, whatever it might be. But again, even on those days where you can't necessarily take that break, they're still here. You know what I mean? Where it's like they're not that far away. They're always within close proximity. And it just allows you to kind of be more part of that process and never missing too much. Like you said, the people that are, at their 9 to 5, it's just there's that distance, you know what I mean? And I guess distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? I had to throw that
Yeah.
one in there, but or something like that, something like that. Anyway, so what do you see next? And I'm actually really interested in this question for you. I want to see where your mind's going with this one. Where does Cody go from here in terms of Team Limitless, in terms of your growth as an individual? So maybe it's not team oriented, but when you're looking at your growth as a professional specifically, where do you see yourself going from here?
I just want to continue doing what I love, right? I want to obviously climb the ranks. I want to, we've had, I think, I want to say 9 national attempts or stage showings in the last 2 years of competing. And we have gotten first call outs, all of them besides one. We missed a pro card last year by one. So I want to get that pro card. I want to be that coach who finally has, a pro card athlete. And I built that person from where they were at A. I didn't get them as a potential pro. I just want to see the business flourish for the right reasons, right? I want to have all the coaches at all the shows. I want to show the support. I want to show that we care. We're passionate about what we do. We're not money hungry. And that's a big thing about the business too, is we like to pride ourselves on being affordable, because believe it or not, a lot of the people who I see the most success with are usually the ones who are, not as wealthy, who have to grind for the money to invest in, because then they care that much more. But to grow the business in that realm, be a bigger piece of the NPC. I want to eventually have a show for the NPC Northeast. I kind of put that into Steve Weinberger's ear last time I spoke to him about the sponsorship and giving him that check, and he entertained it, which was very surprising because of who he is. But just to overall grow the business, I want to have a team of coaches who are trustworthy, dedicated, passionate, good people, for the right reasons in the sport to help people succeed. And that's what I want to do. I want to be an Olympia coach. I want to see my athletes on that stage. I want to see Team Limitless, all over the nation. That's what I want to build.
You listen, I said I was interested to hear the answer. I wouldn't have thrown you under the bus if you gave any other answer, but you played right into that perfectly, where it's like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, honestly, from somebody that has said everything you've said up to this point. Like, and again, this is another thing that I see relatively commonly, where it's like, there are people that are kind of making and the minute they get that month where it's like, not even anything to like, they're like, oh, I get $10,000 this month. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a fucking real estate mogul. I'm gonna fucking, I'm gonna start mentoring people, and I'm gonna fucking do these classes. And here's my fucking 3-step guide to being a whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. The bottom line is they have their hand in this, they have their hand in that, they have their hand in this, and you're just like, dude, I just want to keep doing this hard and doing it well and building this. And and that's how you get really, really fucking good at something. Like when you stick with it and you practice, and practice makes perfect, and you do it over and over and over and over again, sooner or later, you're going to fucking get that first place win, and you're going to have plenty of fucking IFBB fucking athletes on stage because you don't fucking stop. And sooner or later, that's one of those things where it's like, it's like, even if you sucked at your job, but you were able to get that many people on stage, sooner or later, you're going to fucking hit. You know what I mean? Seriously, at the end of the day, that might be the pessimistic way of looking at it. I'm trying to praise you for your thought process here. But again, it's one of those things where I feel like a lot of people can learn from this episode, in the sense that it just, and I don't know if it was innate with you, if maybe there was somebody else that you want to give credit to that kind of fed you all this, but it just seems like it's that you're that kind of person where, it's just, you put all your emphasis on this, you built it, and you love it, and you enjoy it, and now it's something that you just want to see it through to fruition, and whatever that is, it is. You know what I mean? It's not like you're, like I said, grasping at straws to be able to create what's next. You're putting in the work and ultimately waiting for what's next in terms of the development of the hard work.
Absolutely. And I think
it's awesome, man.
Thank you for the kind words. It's beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome.
Like
it's more rare than I think maybe and it's definitely refreshing to see somebody. How old are you now?
28.
Yeah, so and there you go. That's probably a little bit of it too. Is you're a little bit older, a little bit more maturity from you, and obviously, I'm sure you were mature at a very young age with the military background. But again, you're still young within the space. You're still young within your development here as a coach and as a team. And it's just refreshing to see somebody doing it not the hard way for sure, but the right way, at least in my opinion, which is always up for debate. But again, it's definitely refreshing to see it done right, dude, for sure.
Thank you, Tim. Means a lot.
My last question for you is, anybody else that you would want to shout out or give a little bit more credit to in terms of education? Like I think you told us maybe before, or maybe it was on the podcast, that you've kind of been a little bit of a coach hopper, right? Which I don't think is a bad thing when you're doing it the way you're doing. I know coach hopping has this bad stigma attached to it. I've done the same thing. I can tell you multiple different big name coaches that I've worked with over the years, because it was literally one of those things. And we had one of them on, Johnny Castellini, who I told him flat out, on the podcast, like, he had so many people in our area, and it was like everybody was competing with Johnny Castellini at this particular time. And I was like, you know what? I told my wife, like, I got to work with this guy because I need to see what he's doing. I need to make sure he's not doing anything different. I know how to get it done, but I want to make sure I'm not missing something. So to me, Coach Hoppy is that thing where it's like context is always necessary. And in this context, is there anybody that you want to kind of give credit to, or anybody in particular? It doesn't have to be a coach that you kind of got some education from, some background from, that really kind of like, opened you up from a thought process perspective.
I would just say, any coach, just like yourself. I listened since you had reached out to me. I've definitely been listening to many of your podcasts. But any
Awesome.
coach who puts out information, like I would love to be able to do that more often, right? I would love to be able to teach others, right? But I don't. This is like maybe the second podcast I've been asked to be on, and I'm unable. I can put out stuff, right? But I have more, important things and sense, if you
Yeah.
want to say it like that, with the team. But any coach who really just goes out of their way to make time to give back to, other aspiring coaches or even athletes, I think is huge. We get a lot of our information, one, through research studies, but second, through people who have walked the walk, right? So when Matt Jansen right now has all the raw nutrition YouTube videos going on about what to do in a contest prep, or how to approach a cut, or this, that, and the other. And, that's, even if I already know, he might drop something that can be valuable to me, right? He doesn't have to do it, but it can help my craft. Um, Coaches who do YouTube, we're setting up a contract now with a videographer for our YouTube this year. And
Nice.
I mean, even when coaches, like, if they're doing a YouTube video and they pull out their phone, Tim, and you could see the phone, I'll pause the YouTube video because I want to see what they're talking about. I want to see what they're telling their athlete to do, because this is information that they clearly know, and they're going to put a good athlete on stage for this reason. So any coach who, is out there showing, how to become a good coach, and understanding that, there's a million good coaches, but there's also 6 billion people, right? I'm somebody who, if a aspiring coach comes to me, I want to help you. Even if you take a client of mine, what is that? There's a million people out there. So those who understand the realism of what we do and give back. So that's huge. And then obviously anybody on the team, people who support me, without the team. And I always send out, we have a community group chat where us coaches can send out, information to the team, important things. And I often see myself going there and just writing, a thank you, because without them, we wouldn't be where we are, right? You could be the greatest, you could have the most knowledge in the world, but if you don't have, people to implement it with, and good people and good word of mouth, you'll never make it in this industry. And without them, it's a huge piece. So I have a lot of respect for everybody that I work with, because they are the future of the business. Yeah. So I guess
That's
that's
awesome, man.
the people I would, and then obviously everybody with who's around me. So that's a big
Yeah.
piece. My coaches, I mean, my staff is phenomenal. They same passion, right? But they all have their own excellent traits. Like, for instance, in my craft, I'm nutrition. I absolutely love nutrition. Obviously PEDs, understanding all that aspect, but I know my place, right? I'm not trying to wear 10 different hats. Like, we have opposing coach outside. We have a coach who builds programs for training, depending on what that person lacks or what they needs. We have all that within the team Limitless. So these other coaches are phenomenal in what they do as a team. So just thankful for it all. Yeah.
How many coaches do you have?
We have a total of 4 now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. You feeding 4 different coaches, huh? That in and of itself is another stress on top of everything else. So God bless you. God bless you, man.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Tim.
So anything else, Marina, that you have for Cody?
I do not, but Cody, drop where the people can find you. For the
So my business page is at team_LMTLS. So it's like a hyphenated Limitless, I guess. And then my personal is at Cody Nery, and it's CODY, N is in November, ERY. And that's where you can find me. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Tim, anything else to add before I sign us off?
No, I mean, like I said, dude, I got, nothing but positive vibes from you when I met you in person. And like I said, I went up to you at first, is what I vaguely remember anyway, because I know, you know, and we don't necessarily need to get into this because of the politics, but your guy got fucking robbed at that show, like a fucking, like, honestly, a thief in the fucking night. It was one of the worst ones I saw that year. We know what happens. It is what it is. No big deal. But again, he got robbed. And just kind of, you know, knowing from where we kind of went there to, you know, seeing you at all the shows to now getting to know you a little bit of a person, like you definitely fall in line to be like exactly what you would expect, exactly as advertised. And like I said, it's refreshing to see a young coach doing it the right way, or young within the coaching space. I don't want to call you a young guy. That sounds fucking, makes me look fucking old as shit, even though I am. But again, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's refreshing to hear somebody just like, you're into coaching, dude. Like you clearly like bodybuilding, you clearly like coaching, and it's cool to see. But I'm gonna stop like fucking jerking you off here, and we'll get on with it. If anyone wants to check him out, hit him up at where he was at. It's definitely one of those ones where you get a very similar vibe to our social media, where like Cody's been talking about here, you see all the involvement, you see all the engagement, and I'm for one, I always like the idea of kind of being involved in that more of a team atmosphere where you get more support than just that one person. And even if it's not one-on-one support, it's being able to aspire to, you know, what these other people are doing. So definitely big shout out to you guys over there, and hopefully we you know, you guys get a couple more follows because of it. Not that I, you know, when she says fans, hopefully we get, you know, we have our followers. Yeah.
One or none, I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know,
There you go. There you go. So you sign us off, Marina.
Alrighty. Thank you, Cody, for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.